very, what do you call it? Well, I just, in brevity, the dashboard goes to so many different functions, but it's only in public health. Usually what we do is we give folks a big drink from a fire hose on their first overview. But we found in the past, since we don't want you to take notes, we just want you to see the flow, we're going to give you a drink from a garden hose. I'm into happy things today, so we're just going to have that cute little puppy lapping up water. So just a drink from a fire hose. When we find health departments, and including in everyday lives, as Carla could also attest to it, we have so many things that we have to handle. We call this our chaos horse. You know, we usually find people trying to manage different grants and different programs. And even within the finite, you know, Ryan White, you have many things that you have to attend to. And it kind of feeling like this, especially during the holidays. Well, you know, with that said, we're hoping that after this overview, hi there, after this overview, you guys are kind of feeling like this. We're not going to go through the things that don't really matter to you, like, you know, the FAB accreditation or whatnot, because you really don't need to know that. You just need to know that operational planning and execution that everybody's been using when it comes to relating to Ryan White or the HIV at the state. But we were developed in public health for public health. We never left public health. And we were developed as an operational planning and execution system. And we put that Deming cycle and structured it right into the dashboard. That plan, do, check, and adjust. Then when FAB came along, again, originally designed as an operational planning execution, but FAB came along and it was fully demonstrated as a performance management system. And one of the biggest reasons is, which benefits everybody, is to have all levels of your department or division involved in the organizational success. And Fred's going to show you how we do that. We define performance management in 3 simple steps. And that first step is creating a good operational plan. And Fred, do we have plans in there already that are global with their division?
Not in my Dade yet, but we do have them at the state HIV plan level that we can look at and see if they're
good
over.
Oh, good. Okay, great. And, you know, operational planning is just a specific group of people like yourselves doing a specific activity in a specific time frame. And then we want to monitor it on every level. So we can monitor it on the macro level, which would be your division. Let's say, for example, where we're going to look over the whole Ryan White Miami-Dade program and see how we're doing on all our services and initiatives that we provide. But then we also want to monitor it on the micro level, because if something's going to go awry or something's going to come to a dead halt, it will probably be on the activity level or the objective level, which might be, we don't have enough widgets. We're short a staff person. They're on maternity leave. And be able to catch those things that would stop our progression in what we're trying to do. And then we have a way of being able to have your public or the people that you report to have a view as well, which you can create. So whatever you're doing that you want to show off, or whatever you want, if you want to know the status of something, we can create a really simple, just basic report, because sometimes people don't want to know that the depth, you go really deep into an operational plan. And then the last step is, after we have created that plan, after we've monitored it, we found, done our checks and balances, we're going to make our adjustments and go back into the plan, to the dashboard. So that's those 3 steps. With that said, Fred will open up the dashboard live, and I kind of want to, I always show the pyramid to give you a visualization of the hierarchy. So the first tab that you will see will be your division. So we wouldn't need to put Miami-Dade Public Health Department. We would be the Ryan White, you know, division. That would be your organization. Then underneath that organization, you'll have your different groups, your different types of plans. offices, if you have that, several offices or programs. Underneath those groups, you're going to have a set of services and initiatives. Initiatives being what you're planning on to do in the future. Underneath each service and initiative, they're going to have their own set of goals, objectives, and activities. And then this is where Fred does this overview. Like I said, no notes are necessary. Are you going to record it, Fred?
It's being recorded now, yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, did I let loose any information? No. Fred does believe that breathing is overrated. He'll go pretty fast. So feel free to stop him at any time. And I don't like to distract from his beauty, so I get off the camera. Okay, you ready, Fred?
Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go live into the system, and we're going to walk through those 3 phases Andrea talked about. We're going to develop a quick little operational plan. We use the example of tobacco cessation. Under that operational plan, then we're going to walk it through its life cycle so you can see the various tools and performance monitoring. And then we're going to take it through the PDCA cycle to see how we might make improvements. So think about this planning model applying to any kind of a plan. You can imagine what you see up there in the bubbles are what FAB calls their 6-pack of plans. These are the minimum plans required for public health accreditation up there. But you can have plans for anything, for grant management, for car seat management, for anything you can imagine. You can build plans, and they all kind of fit into this model. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our little demo organization we call USA Public Health, and I will take you live into there. So these are the tabs Andrew was talking about across the top. It's that pyramid flipped on its left side. So the organization is your health department or your division. The groups is the structure of your division. Yours is a pretty simple structure here. Underneath that, then we have the services for each group, the goals for each service or initiative, objectives, and activities. So I'm going to go to my groups tab right now, and you'll see that I'm sitting on community health. So when I logged in, it takes me to my default group. In this case, let's say for today, I'm the community health director. Within community health, then I have a couple of different subgroups. So you notice the levels over here. Level 1 is your department, typically the highest level in the organization. Underneath that, you have level 2 groups. Sometimes things like your strategic plan will report up to the department. Down here, you see community health as a level 2 group reporting up to the department. And then under community health, we have tobacco, WIC, reporting up into community health. So for today, we're going to take the tobacco group and we're going to start drilling down the pyramid here. So under tobacco, then we have 3 different initiatives here. Initiatives are things we're doing in the future. Tobacco cessation, secondhand smoke, tobacco initiation prevention. So under tobacco cessation, then we have a set of goals. And goals are a high-level definition of what we're trying to accomplish. For the example, reduce smoking in high schools, reduce smoking in colleges, reduce smoking in public areas. Now, what they tell you is, gives you an idea of what we're trying to do, right? Reduce smoking in high schools. But what it doesn't tell you is which high schools. What it doesn't tell you is when. What it doesn't tell you is how much. So at this point in time, we're just defining what we're trying to accomplish at the high level. When we get to this level in the pyramid, we start assigning traffic lights down here. And the traffic lights are exactly as you'd expect. Green is go, meaning things are moving along as expected. Yellow would something's coming along that's going to slow us down. Red would be something came along and brought us to a screeching halt here. And then we have a gold bar, which indicates successful completion of that portion of the plan. Now, also from here on down, when we get to this level, you're going to see that we have a notes field in here. The notes field is a communication vehicle. And we're going to get into the future trainings. We're going to get a lot more detail in this. I'm just kind of going over it for now. But I can put in notes that other people can look at. We can see, why did I change this traffic light to yellow? Well, John is going to be retiring at the end of the month, and we needed to find a new person for him. There's also a little button down here that gives you a date, time, and person stamp in here. So who put the note in when. Down here at the bottom, we have the ability to have data sources. So if I'm gathering data on reduced smoking in high schools, wouldn't it be nice to have at my fingertips the source of data that I'm getting, so you can link a web page right in here. So in this case, it's the CDC Smoking Cessation Fast Facts web page. And this is the link that takes me there. So I click on that, pops open a new browser window, and takes me right to that web page. So again, the idea here is to have my data source at my fingertips. You can have data sources at the goal, objective, and activity level. So you can have lots and lots of different data sources which take you exactly where you need to go. Now, underneath the goal is when we get down to what we call SMART objectives. Our nomenclature is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based, mostly focusing on specific, measurable, and time-based. So here's an example. Reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. So we pretty much met all of those criteria. In order to get us there, we're going to assign this person called an objective lead. Steve Hansen is our objective lead. He's got two jobs. Number one is to get us to this 25% reduction. So he's the program manager, project manager. Number two is to update the information. So Steve is going to get an automated email from the system. We call it real-time planning. We'll go into more detail in a minute here. Real-time planning emails Steve, gives him a link to come right back into this particular objective and update the status on the objective. So he'll be able to update the status, the traffic light, the notes, that sort of thing as he's moving forward. Now, what we've done at the objective level is to set a finite target. To get there, we're going to get down to the activity level. A lot of people call these action steps, and that's kind of what they are. It's the steps we're going to go through that'll get us to our target. Now, in the dashboard, there are three distinct types of activities. Project-based activity is by far the most common. It was the original one, actually, before we added the other 2 years ago. Quality assurance activity, and then quantitative measurement activity. I have an example of each of these, so we'll kind of walk through the differences as we go through. So our first activity is project-based. Think of it exactly that. It's a project. We have something we're going to accomplish within a given time frame. In this case, the project is to create training content and materials for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. Every activity's got a performance metric. The performance metric is, how do I know when I've successfully completed the activity? So if we're creating training content, think we're going to create some PowerPoints, we're going to create some videos, maybe some training user guides, that sort of thing. That's our project. Once we've created the training content, we're done with the project. So it's pretty simple. And hence you can see that it's marked as a gold bar up here. We have a beginning date and ending date, and these are variable over time. You know, things happen like COVID happens and it moves these ending dates around, that sort of thing, but you can adjust that as you're moving forward. This particular activity is measured just by percent complete. So you notice down here in the notes field, it says completed chapter 1, and you can see there's 4 chapters down here. So it's probably at 25% at that point in time, 50, 75, and 100%. So it's and there, by the way, there's some other options on that we'll go into when we get into operational planning. So that's our basic activity. Now, in order to get us there, we're going to assign a team of people here. And clicking on this little pencil icon opens up my team and team lead here. So we've got 3 columns to select. We can select team members. So you see we have 3 folks who are on the team to create the training content. We have Diane Cox as our team lead. Diane's job is to guide the team to create the training content. And then email notification. That's the same thing we're talking about with Steve at the objective level. At the activity level, Diane is going to get that real-time planning email to go back in and update the status of this particular activity. So how far along is she in creating the training content? Over in the right-hand column, FTE, full-time equivalent, what we're looking at here is being able to assign values, in this case, the portion of this person's time assigned to this particular activity. So you see we have Diane and William at a 0.1, or about 10% of their time, and Andrea at about 30% of her time during the time frame of the activity. So what we can do with this is we can calculate how much is this costing us to do. And you can roll that all the way up the pyramid, by the way. So if I go back here to the activity level, the 3 of these added up is a 0.5 FTE. If I roll up all 3 of these activities to the objective level, you can see down here it's a 1.0 FTE. So it just gives me the ability to calculate the human cost, which again, you can convert to dollars. The other thing we have is the ability to add external partners. So if you've got external organizations you're working with, I can click here. And we're saying for today that VMSG Dashboard is our external partner to help us create training content. And specifically, Fred Erickson at VMSG Dashboard. You can have as many contacts per organization as you want, as many partner organizations as you want, and you can assign as many of each as you want to this particular activity. Now, the other option you have is making Fred a system user, which means that he can become the email notification. So instead of you having to call Fred and play phone tag and email tag and whatever, get the information, go back, find the activity and enter it, we can train Fred on how to do that. It's a very simple process. train him on how to go right back in and update the status of the activities he's responsible for. So it just gives you the ability to kind of short circuit the process here. So that's our first activity, is our project of creating the training content. Then the second activity is going to take that training content and provide 9 training sessions each month on a danger of smoking to students and faculty. This is what we call a QA, or quality assurance activity. The QA activity is unique in 2 things. Number one, it's got a frequency. In this case, the frequency is monthly. It can be anywhere between weekly and every 5 years, so it's repeating, and you're always measuring within that cycle. The other thing we can do on this one, because we have the information, is we can actually set the traffic light. So in this case, we're saying if we get to our target of 9 training sessions, we're going to be green. If we only get to 6, we're saying, hey, that's going to be red. That's not enough. And if we get in between 7 and 8 here, it's going to be yellow. So it's going to be measured on a specific frequency, and it's going to set the traffic light automatically for us. The start date is that cycle start date for the month. So in this case, you see 11/1 is our start date. So 11/30 would be the end date for that cycle. Then we're going to move on to 12/1 to 12/31, et cetera, as we move forward. And that date will get moved every time you save this. You can move that date forward automatically, so you don't have to go in and figure it out each time. So that is our second activity, is going to do the training. Our third activity then, in parallel with doing the training, we're actually going to go out and contact all those tobacco vendors within 1 mile of Wayne High School to ensure they're not selling to minors. This is what we call a QM, or quantitative measurement activity. The QM activity is almost identical to the project-based activity, with one exception, and that is that we have a target quantity. So if we have a target quantity, that becomes our denominator for the calculation of our percent complete. So in this case, if we were to say we were 10% done out of 20, it's going to say we're 50% complete. In this case, we're saying we're 20% done, or 20 out of 20 done, so we're at 100% complete. So instead of you having to calculate the percent complete, it'll do it for you. That's the big difference in here. So those are the 3 activities that we believe will get us to our target. And if we take this plan and go back and look at it in the pyramid, it looks like this. Our group that we selected was Tobacco 2023. Tobacco cessation was our initiative. One of the goals that we selected was reduce smoking in high schools. Then we get down to that specific SMART objective, reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then the steps we're going to go through to get there. So this is the planning process. Now, just to give you a little bit of scope and why we show this as a pyramid model, look at something like your strategic plan. So let's say you're going to build a complete strategic plan in here. The group would be strategic plan up here. Underneath that, you're going to have typically between 3 and 7 strategic initiatives in here. Let's say we have 4 of them. So 4 strategic initiatives. Let's say each of those has 4 goals. Each of those goals has 4 objectives. Pardon me 1 second here. Each of those 4 objectives then has 4 activities. If you do the math on that, that's 256 activities. So that's why the pyramid gets really wide at the bottom. And that's why we implemented the real-time planning, because you don't want one person to have to update all those activities on a regular basis. We're going to spread that out to the people who are doing the activities here. So now we have a plan in place. Let's walk that plan through the PDCA cycle. So there's the plan. The next thing we're going to do, obviously, is execute the plan. And this is where that real-time planning comes in. So in this case, those emails are going to go out. Most often it's set for a monthly cycle, but you can do anything you want with it. Let's say we set it for a monthly cycle. So the emails are going to go out to Steve. He's going to go back in and update the status of the objective. It's going to go out to Diane. She's going to update, hey, here's how far along we are creating the training content. It's going to go out to William, who's going to say, hey, I did 9 training sessions this month. So we're collecting all that information in the background. And I call it from the horse's mouth, meaning we're going to the people who are doing the activities instead of, I don't want to go to Diane's manager and say, how's Diane doing on creating the training content? The manager might have to go to Diane and figure that out. They don't know, but Diane knows exactly. So you're making it very, very efficient that way. So we're going to be collecting this information as we're executing the plan. The next thing we're going to do is check. Now, checking is very simple. It's comparing the plan to the actual. The actual is what we're collecting over here on the do phase with the real-time planning. And what we might look at this point in time is saying, okay, for our objective of reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year, this is what we call micro-level performance monitoring, this chart. Basically, what it's showing me is from the beginning of time, or from the beginning of the program, here's how we ramped up. This is our percent reduction, got up to our 25% reduction over the time frame here. Everything's looking great. So what we're saying here is our plan was 25, actual is 25. It's working beautifully. Now back to PDCA. So that was the check phase. If you're collecting that information in the background, the check phase is that easy. If you're not, you've got to go collect all that information before you can do the check phase. Big waste of time. In the adjust phase, we're going to make any corrections if necessary. Well, as you saw, the plan is working perfectly. Don't need to change a thing. Continue through the cycle. Now, let's say for a second that we only got to a 21% reduction and not our 25. At this point in time, we have to make a couple of choices here. So number one, we could say, well, maybe we were just a little bit overzealous in creating the plan. Maybe 21 is a real number. So let's adjust the plan down to 21, continue through the cycle to stay at 21. The other thing we might figure is, hey, we can probably get to 25 if we add more resources. Now, the resources in this case that we already have are doing the training sessions. So maybe we go from 9 to 12 training sessions a month. Maybe there's more tobacco vendors out there we don't know about. We got to contact them. Maybe there's a whole nother set of activities we hadn't contemplated yet to do that. So what we're going to do is make the adjustments to get us to that plan. And then the third or the fourth option might actually be a combination of both of those. So maybe the plan is a little bit too high. Let's say 23 is a more realistic number. And if we think we could do 12 training sessions a month and get to the 23, then we're going to get to that point. So you got kind of the four options. But that's the PDCA cycle. The reason that the PDCA cycle is critical in a planning process is this. You guys will go out and create a plan. The state will create a plan and give it to you, whatever it happens to be. So let's say you're creating your strategic plan for your group. In that strategic plan, you're going to have a bunch of people get together. You're going to go through a lot of process. You might have an external consultant involved. You're going to spend a lot of time and money to get that plan in place. If you don't have a tool like this to keep the plan up to date, that plan is going to go up on a shelf. 5 years later, you're going to go back and say, how'd we do? That's not really a valuable plan. The plan is having that plan in real time. And by the way, you're keeping that plan up to date all the time. So it's kind of an infinite plan moving forward here. So that's PDCA. Now, what I showed you, that chart, was what we call micro level performance monitoring. That's at the objective and activity level. If you want to look at the an entire plan, let's say at the group level, this is the dashboard itself. So I'm going to go back to my group screen here. And again, I mentioned I logged in. I got connected to community health because that's my default group. So I'm a community health director. I come in the morning and I just want to know, hey, how's community health performing today? I just click on this traffic light in the top right corner. It's going to go into the background. It's going to gather up literally thousands of data points together and bring them all together into a dashboard that I can see the current performance of community health in real time. And here's what we're seeing. So the first thing we look at this top left corner is what I call the big picture up here. So it's the number of traffic lights in each status. I can look at the activity level, the objective level, or the goal level. So I'm looking at activities, and it says I have 1 red and 5 yellow, 12 green, and 5 gold activities. And the schedule gauge is saying that aggregately I'm 21 days behind schedule. Across those 23 activities, some of them may be ahead of schedule, some of them may be behind, but aggregately we're 21 days behind schedule. Once you get to 60, it turns red, and once you get on schedule, it turns green. So the idea is to be able to look at the traffic light, look at the numbers, and get a snapshot of performance. Down at the bottom, I can drill down even further. So I can get down here and look at my people. So these are the folks I assigned as activity leads. So you look across at Diane. It says, here's when she last updated her information. Now this column is kind of nice to have. Well, what this is telling me is, when did each person last update the information? In an ideal world, you want everybody to be green, meaning less than 30 days ago. Yellow would be 30 to 60. It could be, let's say that William was on vacation at that last week of the month when the email came out. So he's slipping back a week and it turns yellow. Red, Tom has been out for quite a while here. He's been over 60 days. You probably want to have a conversation with Tom and say, hey, Tom, we need to maybe train you on getting the system up to date so we can have everybody in the green. So if I'm a community health director and I'm having my monthly meeting with my staff and I throw this screen up there on the big screen up there and say, here's what this column means. I'd like everybody to be in the green because this is where I'm working with real-time data to manage our business here. I'll guarantee you the next meeting, every one of those will be green. So it's just kind of the old adage is people listen to what you say, people do what you audit. It's a mini audit right there. I can also roll up those FTE values if I'm using those. I can roll those up. And by the way, the FTE is purely optional. It's usually used during budgeting and grant cycles and that sort of thing. But this allows me to understand the loading of each person based on the FTE assignments. Lagging says I have activities calculated to be behind schedule. The days is the same as this schedule gauge up here for the individual person. So Diane is 21 days ahead of schedule and Andrew is 25 days behind schedule. It is color coded the same way. Overdue says I have activities where I'm past the ending date and we're not yet 100% complete. And then a number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So that's my first view is my people. My second view here would be my groups. And that's that group screen we talked about. And depending on the top group you have selected as to how many you'll see down here. But what it's basically doing is giving you the same performance information by group as opposed to by person. And my third one is priorities. The strategic priorities from your strategic plan, if in fact you have a strategic plan in there, are going to be mapped against everything else in the system. It's optional. Again, you don't need to implement that. But if you do have a strategic plan and you want to see how everything is performing against your strategic plan, you can do that. And by the way, you can use any plan you want to as your strategic plan. Top right corner, my priorities. These are individually selectable objectives that you personally want to keep your eye on. Basically, what you're doing is bookmarking them up here. So these are things you're working on personally or your team is working on. Most often they're yellows and reds because otherwise they're on track. And just things you want to keep in front and center. When we go into the performance monitoring training, we'll talk about how to set these. It's real simple. There's a little green flag on the objective screen. You click and they show up on your login only. So you pick the ones you want to watch. Everybody else picks the ones they want to watch. So that's your dashboard. That's macro level performance monitoring at the group level and potentially all the subgroups under that group. Now, over COVID, while you guys are out saving the world, we had a lot of extra time here. And what we did is added a bunch of features that people have been asking for. One of those is VMSG Mobile. So you can do the same thing that you just saw on that dashboard screen on your phone. Because of real estate, it's broken across 3 phone screens. But you'll find out when we go into the login here in a few minutes that it's exactly the same login process. You're going to go to the same link. There's no app required. It builds it in the web browser on your phone. Same login credentials, the whole 9 yards. It just knows you're on the phone. So it breaks it down into here for you. Okay, so what we talked about is the basics of the system, what we call the core functionality. Everything that we did there gets you into a complete planning process. So you can have as many of these plans in there as you want, but everything in there gives you a functional plan. Now, before we go today, I'm going to do a couple things. Number one, I'm going to show you some of the additional features just in a brief overview here. And then we're going to talk about the actual process to log in and the process to do what we call quick update so that you can use the system to update your information on a very regular basis here. So first of all, some of the additional features, document management. This was originally developed because of the FAB planning process requires hundreds and hundreds of documents to be submitted to FAB. So it allows you to manage all those documents. We added features in it a couple months ago at the request of one of our health departments in Michigan to kind of make that intelligent. So it basically tells you when this document needs to be updated, who needs to update the document. The assignment gets made through the email to that person. They update the document, and it sets the cycle again and again and again. Lots of reporting. We'll go over that in the performance monitoring training. VMSG Public is the way to easily create a public-facing web page out of any data elements in the system. Three-dimensional planning we'll go over later on. That's the ability to look across all the plans for commonalities or gaps or overlaps. The real-time planning, we're going to go into a little bit more detail here, and that is how do we collect the information in the background to make all of our plans up to date. And then probably not of interest to you guys right now, but the FAB accreditation, we have all of the FAB accreditation plans built into the system. So real-time planning. Again, this is a critical element. The reason this is critical is because you could have a plan, again, with 256 activities. You don't want to be the person who has to update those on a monthly basis, let's say. So here's how it worked. We typically set it for a monthly cycle. You can go anywhere between daily and monthly. So let's say we have it set for the first Monday of the month. First Monday of the month at 1 in the morning, the system goes in and it looks at everybody who's been designated as an objective lead or an activity lead. And it asks 3 questions. Number 1, has this person been in the last 30 days and updated their stuff? Number 2, does this person have anything that has fallen behind schedule? Number 3, does this person have anything that's overdue? We're now past the ending date. If none of those are true, no spam. If any of them are true, out go the emails. As I mentioned, the emails can go to internal folks as well as designated external partners. In that email is a link, and because you are a designated activity or objective lead, just to get the email, it's going to take you into an option box when you log in to say, do you want to go to the main menu or do you want to go to quick update? If we select quick update, it's going to take us to a pair of screens, activities and objectives, that are very, very simple to do the updates. You're going to go through your activities, go through your objectives, log out, and you're done. Now, this process, across 240 some odd health departments using our system, takes about 3 to 5 minutes per person per month. And again, I highly recommend that you go to the people who are actually doing the activities, because they're going to be the most accurate and the most timely updates in there. The activities quick update screen looks like this. The top part of it is just context, everything in blue. It's the group service goal objective, so the top of the pyramid. And down here, I'm looking at the activity. The nice thing is there's only 3 fields to update. I can change the traffic light to cycle through it with my mouse. I can change the data value. So I did 9 training sessions this month, or contacted 15 tobacco vendors, whatever it is. I can put in a note in here. This is the date and timestamp that I was telling you about for the note, which is this button right here. I can put in notes and notes and notes. And every time I make a change, I want to put a note in there so everybody else who's looking at it will know to get there. This is that same data source we were talking about, so I can have the data source for this particular activity immediately available to me in here. And then I'm going to hit the next button. I'm going to cycle through all of my activities. Then I'm going to go into a similar screen for objectives. I'm going to cycle through those, and I'll walk you live through this here in just a minute. Then when I'm done, I log out. Like I say, 3 to 5 minutes later, you're kind of done for the month. Oops, all right. Okay, the reminder email that you get is going to look like this. So these are the 3 criteria I mentioned. Here's why I got the email. Kind of as an FYI, for the activities you personally have been assigned, here's the traffic light status. There will also be a group in here that is your administrators. So the folks who are designated as system administrators will show up in here. And then here's the link. So you're going to go to login.vmsgdashboard.com. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through the login process. First of all, just on a text basis here, and then I'm going to live walk you through it so you understand the process. When I'm done, I will send you a PDF that has the login steps, just so you don't have to take any notes on this one here. But the login process is pretty simple. The link is login.vmsgdashboard.com. That's option 1. Option 2 is just vmsgdashboard.com. When you go there, there's a link in the top right corner that says you're already a user. Click here. So either one will get you there. There's a dialog box that has 3 buttons. You're going to click the send button. It means send to me my login information. You're going to put in your email address and click send again. You're going to get a dialog box, hopefully, and you guys should all be in the system. Now, this says success, meaning I found your login information and I emailed it to you. The email goes out pretty much immediately. Second, sorry. The email address goes out pretty immediately. So if you don't get it within, say, a minute, then check your spam folder or something. If you don't get a success dialog, if you get a warning or an error or anything like that, please contact us. We'll get you fixed up. Then you're going to click the login button on the screen. You're going to enter either your user ID that came in the email or your email address. They both work the same as your user ID. Enter your password and click login. So those are the steps. Now let's actually kind of go through the steps. Here's that email you're going to get by going through the send process to get your email or your information sent to you. It's going to look like this. Oops, sorry. Getting ahead of myself here. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is log out, which is this red button in the top right corner. Log off of there. Now here's the screen I was talking about. Up here it says already a VMSG dashboard user, log in here. You can click on that. It's going to take me back to that login dialog. I'm going to hit the send button. Put in my email address. Hit send again. Since I got success, that means it found all my stuff and it sent me the email that you just saw. Click here. Here's the login button. I'll go back up here. This time I'm going to enter either my username or my email address. You can use either. You can go back and forth. It doesn't matter. It's just as good. And I'm going to click login. Now, here's that option I get. Because I'm a designated activity or objective lead, I'm going to get the option to go to quick update. So we'll go ahead and go there. First thing you're going to want to do if you haven't logged in before is change your password. Now, it's going to have a crazy cryptic string of characters in your password. I would copy and paste out of the email, put it in here. Hit the key button up here. By the way, this is also available on the home. I don't know why it's giving me that. The key button is also available on the main menu. It's about the 7th button down, I think, typically. But you're going to put in the password that was in the email, put in whatever new password you want, verify it like every other website in the world, hit update, and you're all set to go. The reason I suggest you copy and paste the password out of the email is sometimes there's some cryptic characters in there that may not look the same as you thought they are. So go ahead and copy and paste it. So you enter that. So here's my activity quick update. Again, cycle through the traffic light, put in my data value, put in a note if I want to, hit the next button. You can see that I have 8 activities I'm going to be updating, activity 1 of 8. I'm just going to cycle through all those. So I'm on activity 8 of 8 up here. When I click it again, it says, hey, you're also an objective lead. Let's go to the objective screen. Click on that. It's going to look very similar to this, but it's going to have the objective up here above the activities. Same thing, data value, traffic light, notes field. Now you'll notice under the objective, we have the activities. There's 2 different things you can see here. The blue means it's an activity that is assigned to you as well as the objective. So that means you just went through them, so you don't need to update that one. The gray ones mean that you as the objective lead have probably assigned them to somebody else. Let's say that person's out on vacation, you still want to do the update, you can click on it and do the update in there. And then I'm going to cycle through my objectives. I'm going to go ahead and log out, and I'm done for the day, like I say, about 3 to 5 minutes later. Now, the quick update screens are also available on your phone. Same thing, when you log in, it's going to take you to here. You say quick update. You can put in your activities. When you're done, it'll take you to your objectives. You're done. And again, 3 to 5 minutes later, you're done doing it on your phone here. One more thing I wanted to pass along to you, and that is built into the system is a bunch of different help features in here. So let's go back here and go to my main menu, this button right here. I'm going to click my services tab. So on my services tab, if I had a question about anything on this screen, I just go up and click on the blue eye in the top right. It takes me to adding and managing services. This is everything that you can do on that screen in just bullet points in here. So that's kind of the way I like to look at it. There's also a training video down here. It's about 5 minutes long on adding and managing services. This is the entire user guide and one hyperlink PDF file. This is a PDF we call implementation guidelines. And what this is stuff we've collected over the years on how to engage people. Here's some templates to use for developing operational plans. Here's the typical qualities in people that we see that implement it first. Lots and lots of different things that have been collected over the years. So might be worth a good read on that. Up here at the top are training modules. So the one we're going through today is the introduction, so you can skip that. The basics is every button and every screen, basically. Operational plan development is the next one we'll go through. I think it maybe is tomorrow that we got that set up for, or Wednesday. And then performance monitoring training. The admin is just for the people who are designated as administrators. It's about user management, group management, that sort of thing. But if you like doing online training, these are video-based training modules, about 2 hours worth between these 3 modules if you go through them. But again, we're going to go through them all live as well. So all that is built in. It's available 24/7 for you in here. So that was pretty much what I wanted to go over today. That is the overview. And again, the only thing we wanted to show you is here's the box that you're going to be building the puzzle against, as Andrea likes to say. So are there any questions on anything? Again, we're going to get into great detail when we get into the next training sessions.
Hey Fred, I put a question in the chat. It's probably doesn't matter, but
Let me take a look.
for some applications we use for the county, like Edge is not a good browser for it. Does it matter for VMSG or everything? It works.
If you use Edge Chromium, which is basically a Google Chrome based browser, it works fine. We really like Google Chrome as our favorite. Firefox works great. Apple's Safari browser works fine. The only thing you don't really want to use is the older Microsoft browsers, IE and such, because they're not good. But every other browser works fine.
Okay, thank you.
Robert, I can't hear you if you're
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you
I'm figuring out how to do this thing. One of the things that I see, and Christina's on the line as well, who Christina has been honchoing the integrated plan from the standpoint of the Part A activity and the interface between Part A and the Department of Health.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it looks to me like we would need to change the order of responsibility on the plan to put her on top of everything so that she can be the one who is monitoring the progress of individual elements of the plan and getting to the individual players within the plan. Uh, you know, up until now, we have not designated a super user
Uh-huh.
at the top, but I'm thinking, Christina, that's going to be your job. But I need to see whether that's because the way I'm seeing you go through and if you call this a garden hose instead of a fire hose, I hate like hell to see what a fire hose would look like. The
Yeah, you
thing
didn't want to
is
see
that,
her.
but the thing about it is that clearly there is a need for somebody, given our integrated plan, given the number of moving parts in the integrated plan, it looks to me like there's going to have to be somebody whose job it is to manage this entire process. And I'm imagining that when you went through this with the Department of Health, in their activities, that basically um, they probably said the same thing. There's got to be somebody in their wheelhouse who is going to be doing, and as Christina put in on the chat here, should we have two administrators, one for FDOH and one for Part A, because otherwise, the amount of support that we're going to be requiring from Part A to do their work for them on this is going to be substantial.
Yeah.
And
Robert,
so the idea,
yeah.
Go ahead.
When we go into the next training session, the operational planning, I think all of these answers will come to you because we're going to go into the great detail about how we assign the people, who's responsible. We can have as many administrators as you want. We can give them permissions to anything you want in there. So the next training, I think, will probably answer a lot of your questions.
All right. Well, I'll trust you on that.
And if not, we will dig deeper into it after that.
Like I say, it's not like I have a choice, Fred. Okay, so okay, all right, good enough. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you so much for your time today. Carla, what was our next training session set up? Was it Wednesday?
Sorry. I believe it's Wednesday, and we'll need to send the invites to the team. So yes, it's at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. That hopefully BSR and Nelly are still able to participate in that. I will forward it to you for the invite now. And then we were going to reschedule the Thursday one for the afternoon.
Yeah.
So for the folks on the call, Fred, was 4 o'clock okay for you? On Thursday, that was the session number 3.
Fred?
That works for us. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
So, Andrea, if you wanted to send that.
yeah, I will to all the folks here.
Yes,
know.
and Dan as well. He should be back from the FCPN meeting by then.
Okay, so that'd be 2 o'clock our time. That will be good. Yeah. And I have Dan's contact.
Yeah, you should have it.
Yeah,
It's Daniel.Wall. Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, guys, just to let you know how what we always like to say, progress over perfection. And that's why we don't want you to take notes, because we want you to go in looking at this as, oh, okay, this is the flow of it. And then when we dig deeper, it's more understandable now. And here's the wonderful thing about us staying with public health and working with you all is that, you know, if something needs to be, let's say tweaked with who is normally like an administrator or org admin or a group lead, we can do that. I guess my concern was we don't want one person being that, you know, person that's all in chaos. We want to make your life easier and bring you value to this. And so if you can think of anything as we're training and go, hey, you know what, could you do this with the system? Please ask, and we'll make it work.
Okay, Andrew, we got to get off and get on to the next meeting here. My apologies.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll be able to send us the link for today so we can get it to Dan, so you can get the overview?
Yes, ma'am.
Super, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys.
Have a great day.
All right, thank you guys.